is to get all students back in class next week.
I know the minister will be coming out the next day or two to announce that. That's our goal. February 10th, I know the parents want the kids back in school. We want them back in school.
About 500,000 of Ontario's 2 million students are currently in school. Here is how the Ford government plans to keep the spread of COVID contained when the remaining 1.5 million, including those in hot zones, return. Students in grades 1 to 3 will now have to wear masks, more money for PPE and ventilation. Congregating outside before and after school will be discouraged. Student teachers will be able to fill supply positions when there's a staff shortage. And asymptomatic students and teachers can take voluntary tests when the local public health unit detects a concern. Just before the holidays, the government started asymptomatic testing in at-risk schools. Out of 9,000 tests, there were approximately 200 new cases identified.
The first phase of this testing has made it clear, it has made it easier to track and prevent the spread of COVID-19 within our schools.
Government data shows about 32,000 young people below the age of 19 came down with COVID during the same 3 months schools were fully open, from September to December. But officials maintain schools were not a source of spread and asymptomatic testing was not necessary. This is a shift in direction.
We now have new variants that have entered our country. We have to continue to demonstrate to parents and to our frontline staff an absolute commitment to keep them safe.
The government hopes to do 50,000 tests a week once fully up and running, but did not give a timeline. The tests will be both lab and rapid antigen tests, which will have a less intrusive swab for children, so it's not as uncomfortable. The Premier stressed the remainder of students will only go back to in-class learning if COVID cases continue to go down.
If it's not safe, we aren't sending them back. As long as we don't see the numbers just skyrocket and it's going in the right direction, it's going down opposed up right now.
Last week, when the latest COVID modeling was released, officials with the Science Advisory Table said schools could reopen if extra precautions were taken. But they also stressed restrictions should not be lifted at the same time, particularly with the threat of the new variants here in Ontario. There's a lot of concern for children's mental health and well-being. Last week, the Hospital for Sick Children released a report saying closing schools should only be a last resort to keep the pandemic under control.